Welcome to Tell Your Story. I'm Egon Steffen Jr., lighting cinematographer and owner of Cinevideotech. As we believe at Cinevideotech, we aim to pass our knowledge to future generations of filmmakers. After 5 decades of our company being a part of this industry, our collective mind and experience are put together to offer you how to create your legacy, to tell your story. As you will see, we will show you a glimpse of the series masterclasses and training program involving hands-on and virtual learning designed to put you in the middle of the action and confident with your skill. A consecutive course series where you have the opportunity to be a part of a unique experience with filmmakers who dedicated their lives to the craft of filmmaking from all types of departments. Experience with equipment taught by professionals who pass their knowledge on to techniques to the film industry. And finally, our goal is to provide a platform where filmmakers like you and others can become familiar with the requirements and skills needed to tell your story. So without further ado, I present to you Tell Your Story. Welcome to Cinevideotech's camera setup. Here we have many options of cameras to choose from to best tell your story. The art of storytelling has been around since the beginning of time, whether through oral traditions or by cave drawings. But one thing has been consistent, is the balance between light and shadow and images are important to then convey information for others by capturing a moment in time. And the first film that was actually being made was 8mm, but then progressed to Super 8, 16, Super 16, 35 to Super 35, 65 to 70mm. As time went on, that became a bigger canvas for us to capture big vistas and those moments. The first cameras were something simple like this, that were in a box with a little hole on it that you would hand crank it. Not so far unlike the one that my father would give me when I was 5 years old, which was a Bolex, and it was a hand crank with a wind-up. He had originally been a cinematographer, so he was passing on a torch for me. Immediately I went out and got film without really knowing what I was doing, without even a light meter, with something that was inside that just would move up and down for exposure. And I would go out and film everything from lizards to sunrise to sunsets, glass breaking and whatnot. And then I was excited that I'd take it over to the lab and you'd have to wait many days for it to come back. When it came back, we would take a sheet, a white sheet in the house, and we would take a projector, thread it up, and we'd watch that. After watching that, I was hooked. That was something that I preserved as a moment of time that I loved, something that was an emotion from me. And then through experiences and times, I asked my father and through my own trials and tribulations, discovered different techniques on which I could make it better than just a single image. Anybody can do a single image. It's how do you make that image look really pretty? And how do you actually convey that to other people that see it? So why so many cameras? So many options? Because every one of these do something different. There was a progression from the very first ones to what they became into. Originally, we were using this. This is like for Super 8 for home movies. After we've migrated from this in 16mm, we went to the Arri S. This was 100-foot daylight spools and 400-foot loads that was used also during World War II to see the footage that we have available. That camera then morphed to an Arri M, that then morphed to the Arri 16 SR, and the model that came after this one was the 416. In MOS, we have the original 2C, that then eventually turned into one of the still last production models of 35, which is the 235. The MovieCam Compact turned into the Arri Cam. The stable horse of the industry, the Arri 3, became the 435. And then digital, 8K and beyond. We have the Arri Alexa. This is one model. All these are nothing without the special glass and lighting to make it so that you can tell your story. Not all cameras are created equal. Some do certain things, some doesn't. In this case, we have an Arri 2C 35 millimeter. That in the time was revolutionary because it was small. In this configuration, this is in studio mode. But the small amount of weight that allows you to get into tight places made this camera very popular. By changing this to have a PL mount front and a very simple viewing system, as you can see, made this camera very popular to certain filmmakers. Some of the movies that were shot with this is the fight sequences in Raging Bull, A Clockwork Orange, and Star Wars: A New Hope. This one has been modified to actually have hand crank to simulate over and under exposure and double exposure. This takes a 200-foot magazine, a 400-foot magazine, and it can be configured into very small to fit into the backseat of a car. One of the last production model cameras that Aeroflex made was a system called AirCam. They came out with the AirCam Studio and the AirCam Lite. This is after all the years of everything that they've learned, they've put it into a camera system. This particular camera system was something that was taken from movie cam, and they were bought out and then adapted to this system. This has a full, beautiful optical system. It has all speed controls that you can do pretty much anything your little heart desires. You have another feature on it. This particular is a sound camera, while the other one, the 435, is an MOS camera. You can record sound on that, but you only have the ability of doing up to 60 frames a second, which is not dialogue anyway. So it's a very quiet camera, configured in many different ways. You can be top-loaded, back-loaded, all types of different type of magazines can fit on this to make it where also the optical system can be removed completely and 100% video tap can be put on that for doing it for Steadicam and in a low mode. One of the neat features of doing in-camera effects is with this particular camera with this little box. This little box does something by taking the timing of how the film is being pulled down and the shutter and throwing them out of phase. The effect that's given is a smear effect, and it looks like something that is totally organic that you control by turning the dial, and you have a jitter button. So if you wanted to see something fall into frame and the world shake on cue, you can press this little button, and as you press it, the frame jumps. There's not another camera that has that ability to do that. As you can see on the back, it's a fully modular system. Every piece that goes onto that as an accessory easily attaches and removes depending on the desired effect that you want to do. Some people want it very lightweight and they take off all of that. But if you're going to be doing speed controls or you're going to be syncing up, as this is a film camera, a 35 millimeter camera, if you're going to be syncing this up to a TV set or to a projector, you have to have a way that sync pulses to that so that you don't get the running line that you see on most things that are like a CMOS chip where you're seeing a TV effect that comes down like that. This type of boxes allow you to go past that and to freeze the bar and to either move it at the top or the bottom or just out of the frame. All sorts of accessories are for this. You have a handheld accessory, you have small little monitors for camera operators to see quickly, and you have everything from the best of all the cameras to this day have been integrated into this particular model. One of the cameras here that is very unique is this one. This is a 435 Arri. This particular camera has the ability to go from 1 frame to 150 frames a second. It has an integrated shutter, very bright optical system, an integrated video tap, and with this attachment, which is an RCU, that gives you the ability to either select frame rates or select shutter angle or select what they call ramping. Ramping gives you the ability to take from one frame rate to another frame rate, and the shutter integrates in there so that there's no change in exposure when you make that happen. Some of the other features on this camera, it's very robust, very strong, and it has attachments to change it from this mode to that mode. This type of camera would be considered an MOS camera, mit out sound. It's a German expression that you cannot record dialogue with it because it's very loud and noisy. Some of the features on this allows it to be lightweight. And still, if you wanted to do dialogue, normally you would put it further away with a longer lens and maybe put some furniture pads in front of it to done it. Or sometimes you would put a Barney on it in those type of cases. But if you were doing full dialogue, you would be going to a different model camera that's more specific for that. This particular mode is sacrificing now the speed of the camera to a time-lapse module. So you can control 1 frame a second for intervals of every 30 seconds, every 60 seconds. Both of these this camera actually is the workhorse of the industry. It was used for anything from high-speed photography for fight scenes, high-speed food or product stuff, cars, ramping sequences from 1 frame rate to slow it down, like in Sherlock Holmes or other movies where you see at the last moment everything slow down to 150. And for things in this case, when you're doing sunrise and sunsets for the beginning of movies, you're having title sequences, you wanted to have it being in time lapse. This particular module attached to this camera allows you to do that. They've made housings for this to be able to go underwater, splash housings. And then sometimes we put a little blimp or a Barney that would try to deaden the noise for it. But most of the time it was considered as just not running dialogue and still being able to go and have high speed. Stay tuned. Coming up next, optics and lenses.